Hey everyone, I got what's going to be a really interesting show for you today. I have a friend of mine for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years that I've known from a work environment, but we've also both been investing in real estate. So this conversation is going to be 100 about real estate, more specifically real estate investing. So how you doing this morning, Ken?
Doing great. Good to see you, Z. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for taking this. I know you're in the midst of a crazy travel schedule. I hear you got home at midnight. You're out again to SKO or a sales event here in the next week or so. And I got to tell you, I'm okay not doing that travel schedule anymore.
Yeah, that's sometimes it's great, but it can be a little tiring. And that's kind of I'm actually looking forward to maybe in a few years being able to retire. We'll see.
There you go. Well, you're doing the right thing. So that's really what this is all about. Is I'll speak for myself, right? I was doing this gig for 20 years, traveling all over. When you get that 100 night platinum card from Marriott, that was like a wake up call for me because that's just horrible. And I knew I needed to do something different. So I just built one rental at a time. And you're on the same path. So why don't we just, where do you live? What's been sort of your journey up till now? And I know we have a hot topic to talk about as well, but let's start with, who you are and where you invest.
Sure. So Ken Weston. I live here in Portland, Oregon. It's a little bit different real estate market than you might have in California. But born and raised here, I love it. I like the outdoors. Actually, we just recently bought a beach house as well, so I like to spend time out there. Yeah, I've been offered to move to the Bay Area a lot of times, and I can't do it. Of course, if I did, I'd have to live in a shoebox in San Francisco, right? So yeah, I love where I live, and I really love what I do. I do really interesting things with computer security. So
Yeah.
I have a pretty good life.
Yeah, no, your life and your family is awesome. And what I like about you is you're passionate about what you do and you're extremely good at it. But what you're also doing is you're trying to lay bricks in a foundation that can take you and your family, somewhere more secure and financially free at some point in the future. Now, you may keep doing what you do because you just love that stuff, but having the flexibility to do something else, decades from now is great. So, how long have what do you remember when you bought your first rental?
I'd say it's been about maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And a lot of it came out when I actually had a startup well before I left, like 2 companies ago, and did okay, but then kind of hit the skids. I had a really rough time. Almost put my family into personal bankruptcy, and it got to that point too. And now I'm like, that will never happen to me again. I will never be in that position. So that's where we really started thinking about the real estate stuff too. Is that we have some equity in our house. We maybe have a little bit of money. It'd be a good investment to start investing in rental property. So, we have one income basically. And if something were to happen to me, at least we would still have some income that's coming in. So it's not only just about getting rich, it's also about trying to establish some stability in your life as well.
Yeah. There's these things that we do when we're in our family and we are busy in the moment, but lots of us, more of us should look up and think about the future, right? We get so entrenched in the day to day. It's been referred to, and I might as well call it the rat race,
Mhm.
is real, right? That freaking treadmill or wheel, you've got to realize there's a way off of it. And I think too many of us get stuck. So why don't we talk about that first deal? Because I call it basically how to use home equity correctly, because there's lots of ways to use it incorrectly. So
Mhm.
without giving specifics, just give round numbers of what you did, and then how you leveraged that home equity for that first rental property.
Yeah, so we got started with this. We knew we wanted to invest in a rental property, but we started actually looking at some of the interest rates. And since it's an investment property, it would be a higher interest rate. We were just kind of doing the math, and we wouldn't necessarily be making quite as much money as we thought we would off of one rental. So we looked at it. We actually had a lot of equity in our house. We've actually lived in this house for almost over 10 years, almost 15 years now. And so I realized we actually had quite a bit of money that we were sitting on that was sort of passive. It really wasn't doing anything for us. So we kind of did the numbers, and we actually were able to get a pretty low interest rate to refinance our house completely and actually cash out enough money to actually buy this condo outright that we were interested in. It was a really good deal on the condo. It actually, increased in value like by 50 grand within a year. It was crazy. But we did that, and now we own the condo outright. And sort of the risk side of me too thinks about, man, if the shit hits the fan in the economy or anything, at least no matter what, my family has a 2-bedroom condo that we can live in, that we own, right?
Yeah.
So, that was kind of nice there. And then the actual house payment actually ended up being less as well, just the way that we refinanced the house. So it was kind of good all around, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of the perfect situation, right? I hear people ask about, hey, should I use my home equity as a piggy bank or an investment vehicle? And the answer is maybe. Your situation, let's just rewind it if I could summarize. So it's 2014. Interest rates are still at historic levels, right? You probably have a 30-year loan with maybe a 3 on it, if not a 4 on it to start. Got fixed rate debt. You were able to take out a bunch of equity and lower your payment. Kind of nice. And then you bought a condo for cash that produces cash flow because there's no mortgage.
Right.
None of that sucks. That is all good stuff.
So you use rental income to pay down your mortgage, right? So then you're almost, living in your house for free.
Yeah. And then you have the, oh shit, worst case scenario kind of thing where, like you said, if, I don't know, a tech wreck comes and suddenly computers are not used anymore or whatever, you have someplace you can fall back on. Everybody should do that. If you have that situation and you have a bunch of home equity and you could lower your interest rate, lower your monthly payment, and buy an asset, go ahead. That's a good thing. So I know that was your first one. You've done other things in real estate since then, at least the beach house. But,
yeah, there was another condo we actually bought. It was, again, I started keeping an eye out for good deals whenever I had some money in the bank. Actually, I have a really good relationship with a realtor here. Good friend of ours. He also ran a property management company that actually manages our properties for us. So, having that relationship was really great. I found one property. I was like, this is amazing. This is way lower than it should be. I kind of look around the Nike campus in Intel, right here in Oregon.
Yeah.
That's kind of the area I'm kind of focusing on. This was this really amazing 3-bedroom condo. And we ended up getting a sweet deal on it. We did finance that one. But the rent on that, totally covers anything on that payment. And then also, that one has actually gone up in value over the last couple of years, like substantially, almost 30%. So we really snagged that one at the right time. Then the next one, we wanted to do another investment, but I also really wanted the beach house. So I know the Oregon coast. So my wife and I, we compromised. My wife's the one that's really into the rental stuff. She's really been pushing that. And we compromised, and we were actually looking for a property that had multiple houses, right? So
Yep.
She got this house that actually has a studio apartment above the garage. So we rent that out, and that covers almost the majority of at least the mortgage payment on that particular property. And then we go out there, we enjoy it right now. We're probably going to turn that into a vacation rental. We have the option to turn it into a monthly rental if we like. But right now we're really enjoying it. And my plan now is to actually slowly retire and actually move out to that house and maybe sell our house here in Portland and get a smaller condo. But
there you go.
Kind of like that idea of investing in property that you may want to go live in later on, or just kind of giving yourself those kind of options.
Yeah, you mentioned so many nuggets there. I just want to go back and summarize. First and foremost, you mentioned an area. I call that your farm area, right? You mentioned the Nike campus and Intel. That is vital because one of the things that I'm doing now is I'm trying to put my mind around how I would get started again if I was a new investor. And that's step one is defining a farm area and even defining a type within the farm area, right? Because it's not only, Nike and Intel campus, but it's in this case, a condo around the Nike and Intel campuses. So that's huge. Getting a farm area, getting good at, because once you do that and you build your foundation, you will instantly recognize a bad deal from an average deal, an average from a good, and a good from a great deal. And that's what you did. You found a great deal and you took action. But that's because you had the farm. The other thing you mentioned is your wife is in this with you. That is huge. Having your significant other, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, is vital. If you don't do that, this business will kick you out because bad things happen. You'll have bad days and, stuff will happen. So that's awesome. And then what you're doing is you're extending out and you're looking at first off, you wanted something, the beach house. Then you realized how you could essentially house hack a beach house, right? You found something with 2 units, you stick somebody in the studio on a month-to-month or year lease or whatever that is, it covers half or more of the payment. Life's good, right? And then if you want, you go Airbnb and you get, whatever you want. You're just giving yourself options, which is huge. And then what you've done is you said, you know what, at some time in the future, sell this big monster home we're having now, go out, live where we want, smaller, right? I call it playing good defense, which is not what a lot of people do, right? A lot of people like the flash and the cash and the toys. That's just a way to stay in the rat race, man. You don't stay in the rat race buying toys. Fair?
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, people that have the expensive cars. And, one thing I noticed too is a lot of times seems to be the American way. Like people just want to keep upgrading the homes that they live in. Right. And, like my family, my parents were like that, right? Like try to keep moving up, as you get equity, then you go on to a bigger home. But it's kind of interesting when, you stop doing that and then you actually start investing in other properties here and then you start generating more income. So I think it's just a bit of a paradigm shift.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that is the only reason I was able to retire financially free, right? We did buy the place we live in, right? It was a condo, it was a shoebox in the Bay Area, but we bought it in 99 and never left, or 97, whatever, somewhere there, and never left. We could have upgraded 5 times, right? Income's, exploded, could have gone anywhere, could have got the better zip codes. But no, to your point, we stayed, we never upgraded. It's the only one we bought together. And we used all our extra cash to buy real estate, and that foundation grew. It grew into apartments, and bingo, bango, we're both retired. So I'm really glad you brought that up. So I am curious. I know you like to plan. I know you and your wife are doing this together, which is awesome. Do me a favor, 3 to 5 years out, if you can. Maybe it's safer to talk about 5 years if you want. Where are you in 5 years with this journey with real estate investing?
Well, we're kind of looking in 2 different areas, right? So we did invest in this community and on the Oregon coast, and I actually learned some things. I think that's one thing is that a lot of times you're fearful of taking these kind of steps, but when you actually get out there and you start doing it, you start actually buying these houses, not only to get more confidence, but you also learn more than you would just reading books and things like that, right? So looking at some of the markets, like in this town, is sort of suppressed economically. Most of the properties are Airbnb, they're vacation rentals, right? So there's actually a really big shortage of rental properties. So as a result of that, you can almost get a little bit more of a premium out there for some of the homes. So we've been kind of looking around there. That might be a potential investment. We might continue to invest in that town. It also does good things for that community. So it's more of an artsy community.
Yeah.
And then also, we're looking like in Portland or maybe even in Phoenix, where we want to actually have that condo that we want to live at. When my son goes to college, right? So I kind of like that idea of just hey, we can buy it now at today's prices.
Yeah.
Start getting that payment plan in place, and then when it's we're ready to make that move, we can move to that property.
Yeah, that's great. Again, you're doing things and you just lay them out there like they're so subtle, but they're nuggets we have to talk about. One is when you continually invest in an area like this vacation area on the coast, the simple act of doing that consistently raises everything you have, but also the neighborhood. And then what usually happens is you attract more investors, and that just keeps going. And then having an ultimate eye on where you want to be at some point, 10, 20 years from now, whatever that is, and putting down roots now, having somebody help you pay for that now. It's basically like getting ahead of retirement, which is pretty awesome. So have you and your wife ever sat down and say, hey, we want to get to 10 units, or is there a number that you've thought about?
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, our initial goal was 5, and now we're almost there. And, our end goal was 10. Like if we had 10, that's a situation where I feel like career-wise, I could make some choices where, I could take a pay decrease. My idea of retirement is still working, right? So I'd be maybe teaching in a college, like community college, or and playing music and things like that, in bars and things like that. But that's my idea of retirement, still keeping busy. But having a passive income, right, would allow you to do that sort of thing. We don't really live like rich folks, right? We're pretty simple. Our tastes are pretty simple. So
yeah.
Except for I like to buy a lot of guitars, and that's about my only vice. So
yeah, well, as vices go, that's not a particularly expensive one.
Yeah.
So that's good, though. You admit it. It's on record. Your wife can see this. You can talk about it. You're good. No, but that's awesome, and I look forward to watching your journey. I think you get to 10, you're going to have freedom, and let's just talk about that being done. you're one of the few people out there that outworked me all the time, right? You put me to shame, hours wise, commitment wise. So I know for a fact you're not, when you get to that retirement point, you're not going to stop. So I'm glad you already have an eye on the next thing, because that was something that shocked me when my moment came to do this, because I didn't have that next thing. And as you read in my book, it was a dark time for a couple of weeks. So I'm glad you're thinking about that already. That makes me feel good, because if you hadn't, I would have told you to. So any last little tidbits? This has been a great interview talking about when to use home equity. I guess we could talk about when not to use it. Obviously there's times where it wouldn't have made sense, right? Where your payment would have gone up, where it didn't cash flow. There's all kinds of reasons when not to raid the piggy bank. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for me, like, it was just getting over that initial fear, actually, doing that first one, sort of breaking the seal. I always think like, hey, my focus is on tech. I don't know anything about real estate, and once you throw yourself into it and you actually go through that process, I mean, you have a lot of support if you have a good real estate agent and, find a good mortgage broker or whatever that you're going to be working with. But, just kind of overcome that fear and just go for it. It's kind of like kids, right? There's never a right time to have them, but, once you do, you're going to be happier.
Yeah, very good. Well, Ken, this has been a lot of fun. I look forward to watching your success from afar. And if you're ever in the Bay Area, always hit me up. I'll buy you a coffee or something. All right.
All right. Sounds good. Good talking to you.
Take care. Take care.